Welcome to the latest episode of 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network. Thanks for joining us on your favorite podcast app. We're on Podbean, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts. We're also on Dash Radio on their Nothing But Net channel. That's every single weeknight at 7 p.m. Also, check out 5 Reasons YouTube before Floor, an hour before every game. We also do Dolphins pregame shows. We do Dolphins postgame shows. We do Hurricane shows. We do all kinds of shows. So make sure you're subscribing. It's 5 Reasons Sports on YouTube. Maybe you'll be our 15,000 subscriber. We've got Post Up 5R going on right now about the Heat game. Royal Shepherd is hosting that with Ariel Gadd and others. Also, check out 5reasonsports.com. No paywall there. Brady Hawk's latest takeaways off the Heat game are already up. And we're going to start the show with this. We've got a great contest for you, but it's just tied to the Bucks game. So if you're listening to this on Friday night or Saturday, get ready for it, okay? Because we've got a special promotion for just the Heat Bucks game. Here's what you've got to do. You've got to download an app. It's free, so don't worry about it. Either the Apple Store, the App Store, or if you're a Android person, you can go to Google Play and download it there. So you got to search for ASX Sports. It's ASX, like Alpha Sam Xavier Sports. Search for that, download it. And then you're going to enter this code 0603. If you forget it, it's LeBron and Dwayne 0603. What did they do in Milwaukee? They had that famous dunk that may help you remember it. And basically just enter the contest. And basically what this is it's like, it's a fantasy game, but it's kind of like a stock play. So if you play the stock market, you're buying shares in players for this particular game. You have to choose at least 3. They'll give you $1,000 fantasy dollars to invest. And then we see who wins at the end. But here's the best part. They're giving away $300. There's a prize pool of $300, and it's just tied to the Heat Bucks game. Okay, so make sure that you download the app and get your picks in by the 8 o'clock tip time on Saturday. ASX Sports is where you want to go. Again, ASX Sports. Download it. Use the code 0603 and enter for a chance to win up to $300. And it doesn't cost you anything. And now, tonight's episode.
Yeah. 5 on the floor, ride for my dogs. Where here's the thing, you can check the score. Hustle hard, couple scars, wearing bubble frauds. Just like Butler said, you in trouble, y'all. Kept the floor playing, got it all banned. Y'all seen the block, stop with one hand. And Pat we trust, it's power, have the guts. We're here to bring the heat, y'all can hang it up.
Welcome to 5 on the Floor, a daily insider show on the Miami Heat and the NBA, featuring Ethan Skolnick, Greg Sylvander, and Alex Toledo, plus others from the 5 Reasons Sports Network.
All right, Ethan Skolnick back here on 5 on the Floor. Here's tonight's floor plan. I got Greg Sylvander with me. He was the only one with the guts, so to speak, to pick the Heat tonight over the Indiana Pacers on the road without Bam Adebayo and also without Jimmy Butler, Markieff Morris, and a cast of thousands. The Heat win convincingly. Actually, they won by, what it ended up, it ended up 10 or something along those lines?
113-104 was the final.
Okay, so a 9-point win, but it was really more than that. They kind of were hanging on for dear life at the end, and they weren't making things easy on themselves with a flurry of technicals. It's like, just get out of there. Okay, what's the point at this stage? But it doesn't mar what was otherwise a tremendous performance. I think this was one of the better performances of the year for this team, considering the circumstances, considering the way that they've played of late, considering that they don't have Jimmy, that they're still reeling from the loss of Bam for several weeks, and also the way that it happened. Because, as you know, look, Brady Hawk, our guy, talked about it on the pregame. You know, they can't win without Bam and Jimmy unless they get it from both Kyle and Duncan. I mean, you know what you're getting from Tyler at this point, but you got to get it from both Kyle and Duncan. They had 4 threes in the first 4 minutes tonight. Okay. They had 1 3 in the previous game combined. They were tremendous. I mean, Duncan Robinson, it's not just the 3-point shooting. Greg, he looked like a basketball player again tonight. Like he was getting he was getting in the paint, reverse layups. He was adjusting. He was countering. He was doing all kinds of things that he hasn't done. It just feels like when those first 2 shots went in, the pressure release, you could just feel it. And he played great. But also, I want to pair him with Lowry, because I've been critical of Lowry lately for not doing what he did tonight, which is You are the $30 million player. You are the future Hall of Famer. You are the NBA champion. You're playing with a bunch of two-way guys. Show them the way. And he did that tonight. Other guys were really good. We'll get into some of them later. But to me, this starts with Lowry and Robinson setting the tone and showing, look, we're not going away just because we don't have Bam and Jimmy.
Before this game, if you said, what would be the absolute best case scenario? No Jimmy, no Bam. Best case scenario, everyone would have said Kyle and Duncan get back on track and you find a way to gut out a victory in Indiana against an Indiana team that's been struggling. They've been bad at home and they've had their guts ripped out late in games recently. And they're reeling a bit just as a team. And then to see Kyle come out and be so aggressive early, he really, when you look at 26 and 9 assists, like that's a Timmy Hardaway stat line. Like that's the kind of stuff he used to do where you can still get your assists, but get buckets, 18 field goal attempts. It's necessary now. Duncan Robinson, like you said, looks so much more comfortable. He shot a 2-point field goal. I've been talking about this for days and repeating it like an old man, but he did it finally. I was really impressed by the way that he bounced back, and Tyler was a calming force. And Brady touched on it in his takeaways. I really felt that there were moments where Tyler settled the team, not necessarily like a traditional point guard does, where he slows everything down and kind of waves and directs traffic, but just in his pace and in his timing and the way he was picking his spots, it settled the team in a way that sometimes I think Jimmy does something similar, and they really needed that tonight. So it was a collective effort, but that backcourt, man. Tyler
played a really mature game. And I you can feel it now where it's like you know what you're getting from him. And that's why we don't start with him, because we're kind of in a good way taking it for granted, but they needed it. Like you mentioned, when the Pacers made pushes tonight, Tyler pushed back, particularly in that third quarter, and allowed them to get an extension. And then we'll talk about some of the other guys who were helpful. But again, Lowry and Robinson, it's not going to be like this every night. But I just think this is so massive particularly for Duncan, but also for teammates' confidence in Duncan to have a game like this where, again, not just the shots go down, because he shot 38% from three on the road coming into this game. He's been okay.
4-point play. Didn't he have a 4-point play?
He did. But he has shot the ball reasonably well on the road from three. But he wasn't then also doing the other things. And he was looking for the ball. He was hunting for shots again. And look, that Indiana team, I still feel like, even though I think, Carlisle is an excellent coach, I still feel like they should be better than they're not better than the sum of their parts. And I don't know why. And so they did not play a terrific game today, but really the Heat kind of just took them out of it. Like every time they pushed back, everything that they had LeVert going for a little bit, they had Sabonis going for a little bit, but every time Miami countered, but it started with Lowry and Robinson, and they have to get at least one of them. But I'm with Brady. If they're going to win games like this, they need it from both. And they need the 3-point shooting, but I don't care about Kyle Lowry's efficiency. I don't. I'm fine with him with 26 points on 18 shots, whatever. Okay.
Yep. Agreed.
He needs to get the shots up. He needs to, and it's okay then at the end of the game when he's complaining like he always does, if it happens in a win when he's played like that. Okay. It's been a little frustrating to watch at times when he doesn't play well and he's kind of mouthing to the officials all the time if it looks like he's getting off his game. But tonight he was on his game throughout and he was terrific. So look, we've been critical of both, I think, for different reasons, different expectation levels, but $45 million are going to those two guys. They need to give you this. They need to give you this.
Tonight is what you ask for with no Jimmy and no Bam from that $45 million.
Well, Lowry significantly outplayed Malcolm Brogdon. And that was a really important matchup coming into this game, because the way that LeVert played, what Sabonis and Turner can provide. The fact that you were able to have Lowry outplay Brogdon that significantly, when Brogdon's a guy who's typically obviously getting the Heat and a lot of other teams' trouble, was major. And Tyler was good too. But we're going to get into some of the stuff with Eric Spoelstra here after the break and some of the other players who contributed. Before we do, though, I want to tell you about another sponsor of the 5 Reasons Sports Network, and that is CPT of South Florida, which is the place we tell you to go for IT. They've been providing small and medium businesses with the technology they need for decades. They specialize in cloud-hosted phone systems and managed IT. They've got a great promotion, 25% off cloud phone service, including free phones and the first 2 months of service free. You want to deal with an owner, not a sales rep. So give TJ a call. Mention 5 Reasons. Here's the phone number, 954-966-2766. That's 954-966-2766, or visit the website at CPT-Florida. That's CPT-Florida.com. All right. Well, people were calling for Yurt. And then about 2 minutes into Yurt's appearance, people were calling him to get out of the game because he looked overmatched.
What a roller coaster.
I'll say this. One of our former co-hosts, right, on Twitter, but he was really good tonight. And it wasn't just the scoring, although he looks nice with that little 12-foot jumper. It was he kept Sabonis off the boards, and that was a problem in the first half. Like his height, his length, his willingness to use his body, which are things we saw in Summer League, they showed up tonight. But I want to put it in the bigger context here. Erik Spoelstra said that he was going to change some things, right? That he looked at some stuff and we're going to have to figure out how to play without these guys. And it looks like that's one of the things that he decided, that against a bigger front line, he's going to go to him. He went to Haslam for spot minutes. He did not use Okpala. So that was a change. And that's after he said that Okpala gives him some of the things defensively that Bam does at the 5. Didn't use him at the 5 tonight. Went with Yurt. And again, with Haslam a little bit instead. Tucker still played his usual minutes. Dedmon didn't play as much. Dedmon played, but not as much as he had the previous night. It feels like this is a little bit more of a blueprint without Bam, that if you can trust Yurt with the minutes, you'd rather have him play than Okpala, because he does give you that length and, again, that scoring ability too, and that skill level that KZ doesn't really have at this stage. So I thought that was one of the key adjustments tonight.
Absolutely. And also, so Yurtseven was great. I thought that, I just think about them now getting the chance to work with him with strength and conditioning. He's got such a high skill level, good timing on block shots. And I really like the idea of them integrating him more and more. The Haslam minutes early, obviously I'm going to always root for those minutes early, but it was clear that Yurtseven was the better option late. Gabe was a really stabilizing presence. Again, he hit some big shots down the stretch to kind of close the game out. There was a 3 late that was really important, I thought. So all in all, the bench was great. Like, this is nuts. The Pacers shot 33 free throws to Miami's 13. They shot 20 more free throws. And because they were 9 of 36 from 3, 25%, they lost the game. Like, that is unbelievable. And it just kind of shows you that Miami got to what they wanted to get to on offense tonight. And it had nothing to do with anything else than they dictated this game. They had control of it essentially from start to finish.
Well, a lot of it was that they made shots early. Sometimes we sort of talk, we overcomplicate this. When you make shots, everything else feels easier. You feel more into the game. There's more confidence. You don't let down on defense. And so all of that, probably was more important than any rotational change that Erik made. But I do think, there have been times that we will criticize Spoelstra. I think this was kind of a masterclass tonight, though. Like, he got his team emotionally ready to play. He pushed the right buttons in terms of the guys that played. He made the right moves in terms of when to bring certain guys back. I wouldn't be surprised if there was a private conversation with Duncan. I know Brady's on the calls right now. Maybe I'm sure Duncan's probably going to be one of the featured interviews tonight. And I just looked like Erik Spoelstra got to his team. Like, he figured out like what didn't work. And I think we talked about it when you and I were both so discouraged the other night. They got shell shocked by the Bam thing. Like, Bam didn't think it was bad. And so then you got to play a game after that. And they just didn't look ready to play. Tonight, it's like they refocused. Like, this is who we have. Okay, Jimmy's going to be back soon. Maybe Markieff will be back soon. And we have, quote unquote, to quote Spoelstra, enough. But you also mentioned the bench. And I just want to point to this. They have 3 guys on that bench who play so damn hard all the time. Like, just, and again, you don't want to take that for granted, because even with quote unquote Heat culture, the Heat have had players who don't play hard all the time. But Vincent, Strus, and Martin play hard all the time. I mean, Caleb that one chase down block where he's pointing on the break, okay, to his teammates on how to get back, right? And then he makes the play.
It was great.
He's just a really, really, really good role player. Like it's not just like a two-way find at this point. Like that guy is a legitimate NBA rotation player on a good team. Like he's a more athletic Rodney Magruder, like without maybe the shooting touch, but I think he's a better player actually.
Better offensively. Yeah, absolutely. I've been really impressed by him. Max also brings a level of competitiveness, even if he's not playing well. You always kind of like feel him in some certain way. So I thought that the bench was really big tonight, even though all of them necessarily didn't fill up the stat sheet.
Yeah, and Vincent, this is a consistent thing. He closes games. Like he plays well down the stretch. Like you're not at the point with Vincent now where you're afraid when he shoots it. Like
finally.
You feel pretty good about it. And also the reps that they're getting with him and Lowry together are meaningful because we don't know what condition Oladipo is going to come back in. And so there may be times, maybe Tyler, tweaks a hamstring or something like that, or isn't available.
Point of attack defense. Yeah.
They're going to need him, and not just to replace Lowry, but I don't think we ever anticipated he would be playing so many minutes late with Lowry, and in some of these 3-guard lineups. And he's really been good. Like, they keep finding these guys. You hope, for their sake, I guess you hope they overpay them. For the Heat's sake, you hope they don't down the road, because we know how some of that is gone when you kind of overrate your own. But I like what I've seen from all 3 guys. I think that all 3 guys now have come up to a level where there's a confidence that you are going to get that effort. And they also are kind of figuring out what they can and can't do on a given night. And I think that's important. But Caleb's athleticism. Does it seem like
they switch less?
Yeah, I think so. And Caleb's athleticism around the rim is impressive also. He finishes with both hands. He's able to get in there. Sometimes he bites off a little bit more than he can chew, but like, I like the fact that he tries. Like it's I don't know. All 3 of them have been impressive. All right. When we come back, one more quick segment. We're just going to talk about Milwaukee because the Heat play them on Saturday. Again, we want to mention ASX Sports. Download it on your phone. Play the contest. The contest is 0603 LeBron and Dwayne, and you get a chance to win $300. So just download it tonight. As soon as you listen to this, again, it is free. But also I want to tell you about 2 places that you can go to get discounts using our code 5RSN. That's number 5RSN. If you need grooming products of any kind, cologne, etc., check out everything they've got over at manscaped.com. That's, again, the code 5RSN. And they just send you free stuff from time to time. Trust me on this. Okay. So go to manscaped.com, use the code 5RSN, and therapistpreferred.com. That's where you want to get your premium CBD, whether it's gummies or tincture or any of the sports cream, premium CBD. Get it from therapistpreferred.com, 25% off if you use the code 5RSN. All right, they play the Bucks. They're healthier than they were the last time, and the Heat are not as healthy. This is not the first time.
Giannis is doubtful.
Oh, well, they're not as healthy then. Okay, because Brooke is out. We know that. Surgery, long-term. Middleton and Drew?
I think they will be available. I'm trying to flip through here.
Okay.
This was on this Fantasy Labs NBA account that just here we go. Injury report for Saturday night against the Heat. Lopez, DiVincenzo, and Ojale are out. Giannis Antetokounmpo, doubtful with right calf soreness. DeMarcus Cousins and George Hill are probable. That is their injury report.
Well, if Giannis is out, that evens the playing field, right? Because, you've got Giannis out on one side. Brooke is very important to what they do, although he hasn't been available this year. And DiVincenzo is also, obviously got hurt against the Heat last year in the playoffs, but is also had been important to what they do. And you don't have Jimmy and Bam and Markieff. So it feels a little bit like one of those games where if you just shoot the ball well, you could win. And
imagine they go on this little trip and they get both. Wow.
That would be pretty remarkable, all things considered. And, you've got to think that Jimmy is getting closer. From what I've heard, he is getting, I don't know that it's going to be the first game after they get back, but I think it's soon. And so, and in the Morris situation, everybody asks us, we've tried to dive into it. They are providing no information. All the usual places I go, I'm getting nothing. So we'll keep digging on that. But I will say, if it's one of you who listens to the podcast from inside the Heat organization, you want to send me a text, I'll take it, because we're getting nothing right now. Okay. And I'm not really sure why that is, because usually you could get a hit to something. But this does kind of even things out a little bit if Giannis doesn't play, because they have to play through Middleton. And we know that as good as Chris Middleton is, he can be highly inefficient on certain nights if you play him the right way. And I would think he would see a heavy dose of PJ Tucker, his old friend, right? Be physical with him and try to get him off his game, because PJ wouldn't have to play Giannis. If Giannis isn't playing, he can switch over to Middleton, which is usually Jimmy's responsibility. So going to be interesting. But again, you just want to steal as many as you can here without Bam. Stay afloat. Try to stay in that 5 to 7 games over 500 area until, again, Jimmy, then eventually Bam, maybe Oladipo, and then that run of home games that you get after the All-Star break. But to finish tonight, and thanks to our sponsors, CPT, ASX Sports, download the app, Therapists Preferred and Manscaped, use the code 5RSN. But to close tonight, the big story tonight is Duncan Robinson found himself tonight. Now we'll see if he can sustain it. And Kyle Lowry remembered who he was and who they signed. Those are both good things that happened for the Heat tonight. For Greg, I'm Ethan. Check out Post Up 5R on the 5 Reasons YouTube channel.
Thank you for listening to the 5 on the Floor on the 5 Reasons Sports Network.